This videotape is aimed at all frontline health workers who come into contact with potentially suicidal people. This includes general practitioners and practice nurses, accident and emergency staff, prison staff, mental health and social service workers, probation workers, and certain voluntary agency staff, particularly those working with drug and alcohol abuse. The teaching package has the following aims: to develop a more positive attitude towards potentially suicidal patients, to increase confidence, to develop skills for the assessment of suicide risk, and to help improve your techniques in managing situations in which people are at risk of harming themselves. Suicide is one of the major causes of death, accounting for 1% of all deaths annually. It's rising in young males in the 15 to 35 year age group. Unemployment has a complicated relationship with suicide. Suicide is more common in those under threat of redundancy or who've recently lost their job than where there's an expectation of continued unemployment. It's more common in those who are socially isolated or who have no particular aims in life, and also in those who've been recently separated or bereaved. 95% of suicides occur in people suffering from a mental disorder, most typically depression, and alcohol and drugs are also implicated both in deliberate self-harm and in completed suicide. Contrary to what's popularly believed, only a minority of people commit suicide without any prior warning. Most have been in contact with helping agencies shortly before the act, putting frontline health workers in a prime position to help prevent suicide. Research indicates that an awareness of risk factors and management strategies can significantly help to reduce the number of suicides. This videotape is divided into 4 sections: assessment, crisis management, problem solving, and crisis prevention. The professionals that you're going to see are played by real health workers. The patients are played by actors. We think it's important that you have opportunities to practice skills in between looking at each of these sections. This tape isn't designed to be looked at all the way through in one sitting. In the booklet which accompanies the videotape, there is a more detailed description of the skills. We also think that it's important that you have an opportunity to discuss any personal experiences you've had in dealing with people who've been at risk of self-harm or who have committed suicide, at the same time as practicing new management skills. Now let's look at the skills required in the assessment of patients who may be suicidal. We're going to look at general interviewing skills, the need to clarify current problems, specific questioning about suicidal intent, exploration of the background, and inquiry about symptoms of mental disorder. There are a number of key general interviewing skills that are required in assessment. We're going to be looking at how an assessment is carried out in 3 different settings: by a general practitioner, a police surgeon in a police station, and a community psychiatric nurse. You may look at all 3 of these or select the one which is most appropriate to you and your place of work. Now let's look at a GP employing some of the general interviewing skills that we've discussed. The first consultation that we're going to look at involves a teacher who's gone to see her GP to ask for sleeping tablets.
What can I do for you?
Right, well, I've not been sleeping very well recently, and obviously I'm under some sort of pressure at work, and I wondered if you'd give me something to help me sleep. I only need, I suppose, about 10 days supply. I don't want a massive amount.
Can you tell me a little bit why?
Well, yeah, it's... I don't even know, I'm a teacher. And we've got an inspection coming up.
Right.
And I've not been sleeping well.
It's very stressful.
Yeah.
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 Have you got specific responsibility for it?
Well, I know that I'm going to be looked at, yeah.
Right.
And I'm worried how it's going to go.
Hmm.
So it's like constantly on my mind.
Right. Really constantly on your mind? Is it taking over?
I suppose so, yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
How long have you felt like?
God. A long time.
How long?
Months and months and months.
Right. How long have you known about the inspection?
The last few weeks. About a month.
So it sounds as though you're saying that you've had something on your mind long before the inspection was coming up.
The job, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
In what way?
I don't think I'm very good at it anymore. And I'm having problems with other members of staff, particularly the head.
Barry goes on to uncover a number of problems relating to work and home. She feels that she isn't coping with school and expresses some negative thoughts about how badly she's coping. She's also got problems in her relationships at home.
What about you and your husband?
We don't spend much time together, really, no.
You've said now again. Is this all something that's gone on over the last few months, or is it longer?
Longer.
How long do you think altogether?
Oh, I don't know. Seems like ages. A long time. Longer than a few months, I think.
Right. So, there are problems at school. It sounds as though things aren't wonderful at home as well.
Mm. No, they're not.
Now let's move on to look at specific questions. There's no evidence to suggest that asking people about suicide will plant an idea in their mind which wasn't there before. Most people who've thought about suicide feel relieved to talk about it. Most importantly, you can't assess suicide without specifically asking about it. When determining suicide risk, there are certain key factors that you need to consider. You need to explore the following: hopelessness, wishes to be dead, specific plans for suicide, measures to prevent detection, factors which might make suicide more likely, and factors which might make suicide less likely. Let's rejoin the interview you've just watched to see how the general practitioner determines whether the teacher is at risk of suicide. He starts off by assessing hopelessness, which is the single most important predictor of suicide.
So how have you been feeling?
Pretty low.
Desperate?
Yeah.
Anything to look forward to?
No.
So you can't tell me how you'll feel or what things will be like in a few months' time?
Same as this. Worse. It's not getting any better.
And is there anything in your life that lifts that feeling, that alters it?
No, not anymore.
You imply that there was.
I used to enjoy lots of things.
you want to tell me what?
I used to enjoy going out.
At this point, the patient starts to talk about feeling low again. Watch how Barry picks up on this verbal cue and assesses suicide risk.
How low is low?
Really low.
Desperate?
Yeah. Yeah, I am desperate.
Does that mean that you've thought about harming yourself or killing yourself?
Yeah, I thought about it.
Have you?
I don't think anybody would miss me.
How long have you been thinking about it?
Off and on for a bit now.
Does it frighten you?
Sometimes.
Have you made any plans?
Yeah.
You're smiling about it. Is it a detailed plan?
I don't know if it's detailed or not.
What were you thinking of doing?
Take some tablets. Paracetamol.
Is that where the sleeping tablets came into it?
I wasn't sure how many paracetamol to take, really. I mean, I don't know how many.
Yeah.
How many does it take to work?
Difficult to say, isn't it? They do an awful lot of damage before they work. When were you going to do it?
Quite soon, if this inspection doesn't, if it goes how I think it'll go.
So when is the inspection due? When are they arriving?
End of the week.
Right. And what if the inspection went okay?
I don't think it will. But it's better I'll not do it then.
Right. So you really think this is going to be a major crisis, this inspection? And that would push you over?
I know the head wants to get... I know he wants to get shot with me. It's the only way he can do it, really.
Does the family know? Is your husband aware of how you're feeling?
Oh, God, no. No. I don't talk to him, really, about the stuff now. He used to. He's sick of hearing me moaning.
So what was going to happen in this plan? How are you going to avoid him being involved?
Oh, he goes away quite a bit doing, climbing and abseiling with kids and stuff. He's got a thing on this weekend.
Right.
And my son will be at his mate's. He practically lives there anyway.
So you're spending quite a bit of time on your own, and that would be an opportunity.
Yeah. They won't miss me.
What about your friends, people around you otherwise?
How do you mean?
Well, they are obviously your husband's involved in a lot of activities. Have you got friends of your own that you're involved with when he's away or out?
No. I've got friends, but I'm not seeing much of them.
95% of suicides occur in people suffering from a mental disorder, most typically depression. And it's important to try and distinguish depression from sadness. When people are depressed, they experience a number of different symptoms which affect their functioning and ability to cope with everyday life. The key symptoms they experience are loss of interest or pleasure, which should have gone on for at least 2 weeks, plus at least 3 of the following: alteration in sleep pattern, change in appetite, reduced energy or motivation, a feeling that they just don't have the same go, poor concentration, either being restless or agitated, or the opposite, feeling very slowed up, feelings of guilt or worthlessness, and thoughts of death, which may be suicidal thoughts. It's important to say as well that depressed people can also have symptoms of anxiety, and in severe depression, people can become deluded and actually have beliefs of guilt or worthlessness and have hallucinations, such as voices actually telling them to harm themselves. Now let's look at a different interview set in the police station, involving a young man with multiple social and interpersonal problems who's just been arrested for fighting. We join the interview at the point where the police surgeon explores mood, depression and suicide risk.
The police were actually quite concerned. I'll lay full cards on the table. The police were quite concerned that they thought you were quite down and you were quite depressed. What would you say about that?
Yeah. Yeah, I'd say I would.
So how long have you been feeling like that?
Well, me and my girlfriend have been like rowing for a few weeks. We've just been building up. Like, just eventually had a big row. She says I'm too jealous.
Really? Why's that?
No, that's what she says.
Well, do you think you are?
Maybe, yeah.
Has that affected things between you at all?
Yeah.
In what way?
Just causes a lot of arguments.
You said things have been going on over a few weeks. Things have gradually been building up and winding you up. Have there been any other way in which they've been affecting you? No? Because very often when people feel down or fed up, low, hassled, stressed or whatever, there's a number of things which keep coming back to them or keep bothering them. Any particular thoughts or problems keep coming back to bother you? Nothing you feel particularly worried about or guilty about, or... No? Okay. Can I ask you a whole series of questions here? Okay, some of them sound daft, but just humour me, because we've more or less got to go through the whole thing for us. Okay. Now, what's your appetite been like? No different? You sleeping okay?
Some nights, but others
Yeah.
can't.
Do you do anything to help you get to sleep? No? You don't tend to drink a lot to get you to sleep or take any tablets to get you to sleep? No? When you get to sleep, can you stay asleep?
I don't know. I'm quite a light sleeper anyway.
When was the last time you actually enjoyed doing anything? Really? Nothing. What do you do to relax? What winds you down?
Watch telly.
Anything else? No? Have you ever actually thought about harming yourself in any way? People often do when they're feeling down. People often feel like hurting themselves, taking tablets. Some people even contemplate killing themselves. Have you ever thought about that?
Yeah.
Really? How long have you been thinking about that?
Not long.
Yeah. And what's brought that on, do you think? It's okay. Often if we talk about it, okay, and get it out into the open, it's sometimes easy to look at it. Because when you have these feelings, sometimes they don't seem that logical, they don't seem that rational, but they do tend to come to you. Have you actually thought about what you would do?
Yeah.
How would you do then?
Probably like jump off a bridge or something.
Gosh. Awful. Have you done anything, to, like, been on bridges or gone near them or anything like that?
Yeah.
Which bridge would you use? It's okay. Things obviously have reached a fairly awful stage for you if you're actually thinking about doing this. What do you actually think about the future? How do you actually see things going for you?
No, I will.
Why is that?
Well, I've got nothing to look forward to.
Mm-hmm. Nothing at all. What would make you more likely to harm yourself or to kill yourself?
If my girlfriend didn't want me back
Yeah.
at home,
Yeah.
there'd be no point in living.
Certainly one thing. But if you got some help and support, you think that would make you feel better, would it? It's just that what you're telling me is that things have got to such a bad stage that you can't see any way forward. But you're 18, is it?
Sometimes, for example in cases of enduring mental illness, suicide risk may be ongoing. In the next excerpt, Robbie, who's a community psychiatric nurse, assesses a patient who's been referred to the mental health services by his general practitioner. Nigel is hearing voices telling him to kill himself.
Your GP asked you to come through and see me. You'd gone to him because you had headaches, but he was obviously a bit worried about you.
Yeah.
And he asked me to come through.
Yeah.
What was happening?
Well, I've been having dreadful headaches and just make me feel terrible, really. And I went to him to try and find if he could find some way of stopping it.
What have you tried yourself before you came to your GP?
Well, I've tried taking tablets from the chemist, paracetamol. Some of this is called cocodamol.
Right, so you've tried the usual things and they haven't
don't
worked.
They won't work.
Right.
They won't.
What happened when you saw the GP? He was obviously worried about you, or thought something was unusual, which is why he asked me to see you.
Well, I suppose I told him that I thought the headaches were due to people that are after me, that they're causing the headaches. And he then kind of talked to me a bit about the people that are after me and suggested I come and see you.
Right. Who's after you?
It's Secret Service, KGB. And I think it's them that are making the headache. I'm sure it is. Sure.
Right, I'm not sure I really understand. Why would the KGB be after you?
Well, years ago, my brother and me, we used to potter around and we discovered something that the KGB wanted. And they still want it. They're still after me for it.
So some of this has been going on for quite a long time now, yeah?
Yeah.
Nigel explains that for about 15 years, on and off, he's been experiencing the sensation that people are following him and talking about him. He believes people watch him and signal to each other using their car horns. He goes on to describe hearing a voice.
And I hear this man talking.
What does he say, do you know? Can you hear it distinctly?
He says things like, we're going to get you, we're going to get what you've got, we want what you've got, if you don't, we'll kill you. And we're going to kill you. And recently it's got that we're going to kill you for not giving us these things.
So part of it is it seems to be getting worse recently.
Yeah, they're now saying they're just going to kill me. Whereas before they used to say, we'll get it off you, we'll get that trigger off you.
Right. And that sounds quite frightening. I'm wondering how it makes you feel.
It makes me feel terrible. At the moment, the last couple of weeks they've been saying, well, we're going to get you, you might as well do it yourself. We're going to get you. And so we're going to hang you, you might as well hang yourself.
I'm not quite sure how to put it. Do they say it strongly enough to make you think that maybe you should carry that out? Is it that frightening?
Yeah, it's that frightening. When I'm by myself, it just happens all the time. And even, when I'm out sometimes, I'll be going down the road and we can see you. Go on, do it. Kill yourself.
Right, so it's worse if you're by yourself?
Yeah.
It's almost constant then?
Almost, yeah.
Right.
I try and watch telly and I just can't concentrate. It happens then.
Is there anything that gives you relief from it, or you can distract yourself?
When I'm with friends, it's not too bad then.
What changes?
I don't hear the voices then. I still feel that people are watching me, and I still hear the pips, and I think that that's them, but I don't hear the voices so much. I suppose it's, I don't know why, but when someone's talking to me and I'm, we're in conversation, I just don't hear the voices.
Right. So company makes it better.
Yeah, company makes it better.
What I'm still not very sure about is what distresses you most, the voices saying the bad things, or the belief that you might have to act out yourself, that you might have to carry it out.
Yeah, I feel at times when it gets really bad, I feel that I should go and do it, and then that'll shut them up. I won't have to do it, listen to it anymore.
Right. Has it ever gotten to the stage where you thought, I must go and do it now, I can't take any more? Has that happened?
I've got a rope. I've kind of been thinking, right, where shall I put it? Shall I tie it?
Right.
When I'm in my room by myself, I'm thinking I'll tie it round the curtain rail and do it there. But then I think, no, that's not going to hold me.
So you're beginning to have some kind of plan.
Mm.
Is there a bit of you that ever manages to fight against that?
Yeah, now and again, I kind of think to something like, I'm not doing what you said. I've had, you've been at me 15 years and I've gone through it that long. I'm not going to listen to you. But there again, it gets so bad sometimes. I can't sleep. And it's like a combination of them saying, go on, you might as well kill yourself, go on, do it now. And they're not being able to sleep and wanting to get rid of it.
Are you more at risk at night when you're on your own then?
Yeah. Definitely, it's definitely worse at night. If there's no one around, then I'm in the flat. And you can't kind of bang on your friends' doors at 3 o'clock in the morning.
When you've thought about harming yourself, has it been an impulsive thing, I've got to go and do this because I'm really upset, or has it been more of a planned thing? This would be a good time, this would be a good place.
I haven't really thought. It's just, it builds up and builds up throughout the night, and it gets worse and worse. And I've got a rope, but it's more because I can't stand it any longer. And I'm frightened that I'm going to do it one night, and it's all right today while I'm with you, I don't want to do it, but at night when it's happening.
It transpires that Nigel's been in contact with the services before. Robbie goes on to assess whether Nigel has made any previous suicide attempts.
Can I just ask, Nigel, you mentioned that this has been going on for a long time, and there was the episode with the rope, where you thought about hanging yourself. Have you ever done anything in the past when things have been that desperate?
Yeah. I took an overdose before. When? That's before I last went into hospital.
What happened then?
There were people were following me. And it just got so unbearable. I thought that people were watching me all the time, and this voice was saying, we'll get that secret, we'll get it off you. I couldn't stand it, so I had some antidepressants from the GP and I took them all.
Right. At that point again, was it something that you did on impulse, or had you planned to take them at a certain time? What happened?
Some people use self-harm as a coping strategy, with no plans to actually kill themselves. However, the risk of suicide following a suicide attempt is 100 times that of the general population. So you should be aware of the factors associated with suicide after an incident of deliberate self-harm. The factors associated with suicide risk after self-harm or attempted suicide are as follows. You should be particularly wary of the high suicide risk in people who make a number of suicide attempts with increasing frequency and increasing seriousness. Find out about the antecedents of the attempt. Explore the attempt itself, and make sure that you try and assess the person's mental state. Pause the tape after this and every section of this videotape and practice asking about suicidal risks and the symptoms of major depression. Remember to try and use the general interviewing skills that we described earlier. The next section of this videotape goes on to examine the concept of crisis management. This automatically follows on from assessment, and the two may take place together. The aims of crisis management are to calm the patient down and reduce the immediate risk of suicide, to try and enhance hope and confidence and improve effectiveness in tackling problems, and to arrange treatment of mental disorder. There are some particular techniques, some of which we'll demonstrate to you in the forthcoming sections. Let's go on to look at some of these in the next few interviews. First, let's look at the interview you saw earlier with the general practitioner Barry and the teacher. It's Friday afternoon and the school inspection went as bad as she had expected. The weekend's already been identified as a crucial time. Furthermore, the teacher's convinced that her husband won't cancel his weekend trip. Watch how Barry tries to ensure his patient's safety.
If he can't or won't, is there anyone else?
Sister.
Mm-hmm.
I've got two sisters.
Are they local? Do they live locally?
Sue does, yeah. She won't want to come round. She's busy.
Hmm. Does she have any idea how you're feeling?
I bet, yeah. Not really, no. She knows I'm having problems at school.
Mm-hmm.
She doesn't know how I really feel.
Right.
She's been going on at me about my mum.
Mm.
About me not going to see my mum during the week.
Right.
God. I can hardly cope with seeing her at weekends.
Mm.
She wants me to go and see her in the week. She said she does. I live closer.
Right.
Just... Oh.
Would you want Sue to be there with you?
No. No, but that's what my mum knew. And have her come round. She knows what I feel around.
Is she the sort of person that could help?
No, I don't think so. Well, she's tried to help in the past, she says. Sort yourself out, you know. Put yourself together.
Do you normally go around to see your mum at the weekends?
Yeah.
Do you talk to her much?
No. I talk to my other sister more, but she doesn't live close.
Right.
She lives in Yorkshire.
So you phone her regularly?
No, not regularly. I phone her when I'm desperate sometimes. Somebody to talk to. I've phoned her for ages.
Were you going to see your mum this weekend?
I was going to go tomorrow morning.
And would Sue be there normally when you go round?
No. I was going to go to say goodbye to my mum.
Are you still going to do that? And what would stop you? What would help you carry on a bit longer?
I wish my other sister lived closer. Janet.
Got a good relationship with Janet?
But all I ever do is phone her up. All I seem to do these days is just phone her up and moan.
Has she complained about that?
No.
Do you find it's a help talking to Janet?
I just don't like to keep doing it.
No.
She's got her own life and family. She doesn't need me messing it up.
But you need her at the moment.
I wish she was here.
Could she come?
I don't know. I'd like to see her though. I'd like to see her. She doesn't moan at me, she doesn't nag me.
Good person to have around.
I've not seen her for ages. Just occasionally talk to her.
Right. Maybe she has she not seen your mum for a while either?
No. Sue doesn't go near her though. Where she lives. She's got young children.
Janet was?
And a job, you know, he's
Yes.
got a lot.
But if for any reason your mum was seriously ill, or someone else was
Oh,
seriously
she'd
ill,
come over. Yeah.
don't you think this is being seriously ill?
I think I prefer to be seriously ill. This is worse.
Because someone can do something about it when you're seriously ill, or can try. think what I'm saying is that we can try and do something about this. And the first thing we can try is to have someone with you that you can rely on, that you can trust, that you want to be with. And maybe just get rid of the tablets that you were planning to kill yourself with, so it's not there, available. Did you bring them with you? Can I make a suggestion? That I come round after surgery tonight when I've finished and speak to your husband before he goes away, so that...
Right. You won't be there anyway later.
Right.
He's going out
What time is he going, do you know?
at 7:30.
Okay, well, I'll try and be there before then and tell him I'm coming.
In a crisis, it may be necessary to take control of the situation in order to ensure that the person gets appropriate care. In the next scenario, watch how a casualty sister takes control and employs distraction in order to ensure that a patient stays in the department to see the duty psychiatrist.
I believe you're not happy about waiting.
No, but I've been here an hour now.
I know you have. I'm really sorry about that. The psychiatrist has been up on the ward seeing a patient, but I've just spoken to him.
I don't need a psychiatrist.
Well, the psychiatrist is just here to have a chat with you.
I'm not daft.
We're not saying that you are, but he's here to have a chat with you and to see if he can help you.
I don't want to see a psychiatrist. I thought you could help me. I don't want to see a psychiatrist.
What are you frightened of?
I just don't know. It's fellas in white coats and that, and you know,
No.
straight jackets and that.
The psychiatrist is just a doctor. He's here to have a chat with you about your problems, like I have done already and like the casualty doctor has done. You've come this far.
I don't think you'd be any good to me. I don't think you'd be any good at all. Stupid coming in the first place, I think.
You've made it this far. Well, you're obviously very frightened about what happened before.
Yeah.
To bring you to casualty. You're going to wait a little bit longer.
Yeah, it's not going to be any good. It's daft.
It is. You've come this far. You've been positive. You've come to casualty today. Do you want to tell me a bit about your daughter? What's her name?
Just call her Louise.
Louise. You seem very proud of her. She's at university.
Yep. She's the only one in our family who's done out, you know. She's...
How old is she?
She's 20.
Which university does she go to?
She's up at Hull.
And what's she studying?
She's doing English lit.
Does she graduate soon?
Oh, she's only in the first year yet, you know, so I don't want to either her. I don't want her, you know. She's proud of me. My wife would have been proud of her now.
I'm sure she would.
You know. But
Now let's go back to the scenario involving Nigel, the man who's experiencing psychotic symptoms. Having identified a suicide risk, Robbie tries to ensure his client's safety.
If I can just summarise a bit. You're distressed by all of this. Sometimes driven to do something, sometimes driven to think about hanging yourself because it gets so bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. But there's a small bit of you that can still fight against it because it's been going on for so long.
Yeah. I don't want to kill myself, but at night,
Right.
like I say, I've tried putting up the rope and then I've thought, no, that won't hold me. And I suppose the delay in that kind of thing has stopped me doing, you know.
Right.
And I've thought about perhaps I need to go out and find a tree or something like that.
Right. I'm wondering if we could go the other way and think about how we might make the situation safer. Where we can actually A, make it more bearable and B, take away some of the immediate risks for you. Yeah, I guess the first thing is it would be helpful to get rid of the rope.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Beyond that, I think we need to look at other things. It sounds like the thoughts you're having might respond to medication, and you know, maybe your GP can look at something else that could give you some relief.
Mm.
It sounds like the Largactyl dampens things down a bit, but
It does when I take it day after day after
Yeah.
day after day.
Right. But because of the
must
side
be something
effects.
better.
Yeah, sure. So short term, we can look at things like getting rid of the rope. Yeah.
Mm.
So we could go and deal with that. Well, as soon as this finishes, really, when we leave here.
Like you're coming.
Well, I would come home with you if that's okay, and actually take it away. I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it would be helpful if we looked at other things to distract you. I mean, are there people that you could, if you like, phone at night until the medication kicks in? Are there friends? Have you got family? Are there other supports around that?
There's my brother. He lives, although he's got a family. You know. Yeah, there's my brother and a couple of friends.
I mean, again, I think I'm talking very much about short-term crisis here, so it wouldn't be reasonable to expect your brother to support you through phone calls week after week, but over the next few days, can we get a plan that would help support you there?
Mm.
And who could we use? So there's your brother, some friends?
I've got a good friend who I have phoned up now and again, but I feel it's a big commitment for him.
Sure.
It's a lot for him. Yeah. I suppose on short term. Because I do feel better when I'm talking to someone.
Right. That's the thing that comes through, that if you have company or if you're engaged somehow, that you're more relaxed.
Yeah.
And then longer term.
It's almost like they protect me in some way. The voice won't say anything while someone else is around, in case they hear.
Longer term, perhaps look at things like a more suitable medication that you can tolerate. Okay.
Yeah, if it don't, because I felt dreadful when I was taking it before.
Are you happy enough to leave it at that just now, and we can maybe go and have a word with your GP and just let him know what's happening?
Family and friends can offer better support than professionals if they are available and empathic. It's important to clarify with the patient who is going to be the most effective kind of support and who's best able to provide it. Teenagers and immature people become distressed by being with suicidal patients, and parents may be too overprotective or judgmental. It's important that friends and family are informed of the risks and what to do if the situation actually gets worse. This next interview involves Don, a drugs counsellor, and Gillian, a heroin user, who's recently been sacked from her job for stealing. She's having serious problems with her boyfriend, who's also a drug user, and is now expressing the view that life isn't worth going on with. Watch how Don assesses appropriate support.
Before we go any further, I know that you say there are very few people in your life that you can rely on or confide in, but I think it is very important that we find somebody that can offer you support through this.
No, I've got mates really. I just don't know how reliable, not reliable, but how they'd be about it. I don't know.
What about the family?
Well,
My mum had hit the roof, I think.
So,
She doesn't know, you know, I mean...
so you reckon she'd go wild if you told her?
Well, she'd come round and start cleaning up and telling me what to do and stuff. I mean, I'd rather have mum. I've got a couple of mates who might... What do you mean, help me anyway?
I think at the moment you're feeling quite depressed, and that depression isn't going to go away just because you're in a detox. I think you're going to feel at times that you need somebody around just to say how you feel, somebody maybe to look out for you when you're not feeling very good. And I think there'll be times when you want to go and get heroin as well. And it's useful. I think it's useful to have somebody about who can help you deal with those things. You say you've got a couple of mates. Tell me a little bit about them.
Well, there's Alison at work, when I did work there, and I've got a couple of mates that I still see, and I know people who take heroin, but they won't be any good, are they?
No, I don't think so, not in this case.
I don't know.
Tell me about Alison. Why would she be a good person?
Well, she's not dead straight, if you know what I mean, but
Yeah.
she's nice, and I don't know if she... Yeah, I just don't like imposing like that, but I think she'd be alright. It's just that it'll be a pain for her, won't it? Coming around listening to me moaning on.
So...
But we did get on really well. I mean, I've known her for... Did get on. It's just that I haven't been into work, but I've known her for a couple of years.
In some situations, referral to another agency may be required to ensure safety. For example, in the cases of serious mental illness such as schizophrenia, it's important that the psychotic symptoms are treated by an appropriate health professional. Let's rejoin the interview with Robbie and Nigel. The voices are worse, and Nigel is now a fairly high suicide risk.
Hi.
That's, what, about 3 days since I last saw you now. I'm just wondering how things are going.
Not very well. The voices have got worse, and I've been taking the tablets, but they're still there, and I just feel tired as well now. I'm still awake at night, and the voice is getting worse. I'm hearing it more.
Have you tried to harm yourself again since?
I haven't. I've got another rope, and I put it up on the curtain rail again, but I'm beginning to think that perhaps I've got to go somewhere else. Make sure I do it properly so it won't do that. It won't pull things down, and that where I can hang myself.
So you're actually giving a fair bit of thought to how you might do this successfully, if successful is the right word.
Yeah. I feel that especially at night, that it's happening as well during the day. the feeling that people are following me as well. It's getting worse, and I'm tending to stay in. And the voices again, they're just saying, kill yourself, hang yourself. Go on, you're no use to us anymore, hang yourself. Just getting worse.
It sounds like things are so distressing now, it's virtually impossible to keep you safe where you are. And I really think that you need to see one of my colleagues. There's a consultant psychiatrist I work with in the health centre here. I think it would be really helpful if you saw her.
You're a psychiatrist, you say?
I know you've had...
Does that mean going to hospital?
It may mean going into hospital. I wouldn't like to second guess what you will say, but between yourself, the GP, myself, your friends and family, we've tried to make things better, but it sounds like things are still, they're getting worse, and it sounds like you're becoming more desperate.
Yeah.
Is that fair?
Yeah, I am. You know, I don't really know what to do now. I was just holding on to things, I suppose. I don't know whether I can anymore.
And I think when things get that desperate, you really need some specialist help.
You should see me here.
Yeah.
When?
If you agreed, I would try and get hold of her immediately. We could go up and see her. Well, either we could go and see her, or she could come down to the health centre here as quickly as possible, really, I think, because it sounds like things are quite desperate.
Yeah. I prefer to see her here. I'm not very fond of... Well, I know here.
Are you happy enough if I start that referral process then? Yeah.
Yeah.
In the final scenario in this section, Suzanne, a community psychiatric nurse, is working with a female client who's got recurring thoughts of harming herself. Watch how she attempts to challenge hopelessness and generate hopefulness in her client. She particularly tries to challenge the dichotomous nature of her thinking and help her to look for alternatives to suicide.
I wondered if we could go back a little bit and maybe talk a little bit more about, you were talking before about having ideas about harming yourself and having thought of ways in which you could do that. Does that feel like it's the only solution at the minute?
I can't think of anything else.
But there were also things that you said that suggested that there were reasons for staying alive as well. What if we could talk a little bit more about them? Talked about your mum.
She'll be alright. I just wanted to know that she was alright, really. But I don't think she'd miss me an awful lot. She'd be, I mean, if she knew the mess I was in anyway. really... I don't know. It really hurt her.
Because I guess the thing that strikes me about it is that it's a very final solution. It's a very big thing to decide, and I wonder if maybe, because it sounds like in a sense that all these things have happened to you. All these things have, in a sense, spun out of your control, and that can feel very overwhelming. And I think in situations like that, it is possible for people to think, well, the only way out is to end my life. But I wonder if you've thought of that first. I wonder if maybe it's been so overwhelming that you haven't thought of other possible things to explore as ways of trying to get it back under control.
There aren't any. There aren't any.
What have you thought of?
Well, I haven't, because I can't think of anything that's going to sort it out.
Right.
I can't think of how I'm going to pay off all these things. Steve's gone. I can't think about how I'll ever work again.
Mm-hmm.
I can't. And I know I do it myself. I know I can't, I just drink more. And I know it doesn't help, but I can't see how I'd ever stop doing that.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't think of how I'm just going to get through it all. There isn't.
I mean, I guess in a sense you're right, because you're thinking of a lot of problems all at the same time. And it's almost like I've lost my job, Steve has left me, my drinking, my debts, I might lose my home, my mother. So it's a lot of problems all lumped together. I wonder if it might be more helpful to, I don't know, maybe try and separate them out a little. So it sounds like you're trying to deal with everything all at the same time, and that is pretty difficult.
Impossible,
Yeah, that is pretty hard.
In this next section, problem solving, we're going to look at problem solving as a means to actually help patients to identify problems as a source of their distress, to identify their psychosocial resources, to provide them with a framework to think through problems logically, and to enhance their control over current and future problems. Problem solving is easily learned and has a wide application for many psychiatric disorders. It can be used in addition to medication, it's popular with patients, and it's more accurate as patients actually generate their own solutions. It's also less stressful for health professionals than them feeling that they always have to come up with all the answers to patients' problems. In terms of assessing suitability for problem solving, the patient's problems need to be able to be specified. Their goals must be realistic, and there must be absence of severe acute psychiatric illness. The patient must no longer be in a crisis situation, in other words, acutely suicidal, and must be able to take some responsibility for themselves. We're going to take you through the steps in problem solving. First of all, you have to decide which problem to tackle first. Then generate options for dealing with the problem. We call this brainstorming. Then examine the pros and cons of each option. Get the patient to choose the best option, and then to rehearse the option in imagination before carrying out the option. Then review what's happened. The crucial task is to get the patient to do the work. You saw this patient when she was acutely suicidal. At this point in time, the woman, who's a school teacher, is having problems with the care of her mother. She's having difficulties looking after her mother because of schoolwork, but her sister is unwilling to be involved in the care. She's going to work through this particular problem with one of her general practitioner's partners.
You were telling me that you're already visiting your mother at weekends, and your sister visits her during the week.
Yeah.
But that you feel that as a good daughter, you should in fact be doing more for your mother than you already are. And that your sister in fact is putting some pressure on you to do this.
Yeah.
Is that a fair summary?
I think it is, yeah.
Right.
I mean, I'm actually closer, you know, I live closer than my sister really, so I do feel like I should be, you know, sort of helping out during the week really.
So you really feel under some pressure that you should be doing more. Right. What do you see as possible options for dealing with this problem?
Well, I mean, I've explained to her that, you know, I need to do schoolwork at night, and it's finding time really to, you know, to go to my mum's.
Right. Explain to who?
My sister.
To your sister. Right.
Yeah.
So one option is what you've already tried, in fact, which is explaining to her your situation. What other options can you see to help you resolve this problem?
Two options emerge. Making time to visit her mother on weekdays, or talking to her sister and explaining that this just isn't possible because of her schoolwork. The doctor and patient here begin to explore the advantages and disadvantages of each option.
And shall we start with the option of you going once or twice during the week as well as at the weekends? And I think we should look at the advantages and the disadvantage of each. Can you see advantages of doing that for you?
Well, yeah, I mean, Sue will get off my back then.
Right, so we'll get off your back. Any other advantages?
I suppose my mum would be pleased to see me. Although, I mean, she really just sort of moans at whenever you go anyway. You know, she doesn't seem to appreciate that what you're doing anyway. I suppose that's old age.
She doesn't?
No.
Right. Okay. So, you doing the option of you going during the week as well as the weekends, you feel that it would get Sue off your back, as you put it, that although your mother might not show much sign of it, she might appreciate you going more. Now, let's look at the disadvantages of doing that.
It's trying to fit it in, you know, with what I'm doing.
It's trying to fit it in with the rest of your life.
They reach agreement that talking to her sister is the favoured option. Goals are then clarified.
So really what you'd be hoping to achieve when you talk with your sister is that she would agree to the situation, that she would stop putting pressure on you, and also that you should come to an agreement about who's going to visit when, presumably, and would you be aiming to keep it as it is now?
I think so, yeah.
You think so, right?
I prefer it to be.
Yes, okay. So that's the goals, if you like, of the option that we've chosen. Right. Now I think what we should do is look at the steps that we're going to need to go through, or in fact that you're going to need to go through, hopefully to achieve that goal, and to look at some of the difficulties that might arise and how you might resolve those difficulties. What are the steps, in fact, that you'll need to go through to get there?
I need to phone her, I suppose, and arrange to meet her.
Right.
Perhaps ask her up to her house or meet her.
Either meet her or ask her up to the house, right.
It can be very helpful to work through the worst case scenario.
Can you see what might be the worst possible response you'll get from your sister? I think we should perhaps work through that.
I think the worst thing that would be that she'll say that she's done enough, and she'll just say she's not going up there.
Right.
I think she'll blame that on me, you know, she'll say to my mum that she's not going up because of me. So my mum will blame me then.
Right.
For it.
Right.
You know, she'll say that I've caused this row, and then my mum will say that she's on her own all week because of what I've done, and you know, I think I'll just get, and I don't know what I could do about that.
Now watch the first part of this next excerpt from an interview and consider how you could set about problem solving with Gillian, the heroin user you saw earlier. Dawn sets out by defining that her current main problem, now her heroin use is being addressed, is her relationship with her boyfriend.
He takes smack as well, you see, so...
And that could cause you problems, I suppose, if he came round.
Well, yeah, it was difficult because he phoned me up and he was saying, you know, well, you know, how are you going to get any more stuff if you haven't got any, you know, any money? And he didn't have any. And it's just all his mates and my mates really. They're all in the same crowd, you know, and Alison's not. I mean, she takes a bit of dope and a bit of speed now and again, but I mean, not, you know, nothing like major or anything.
Sounds as if you expect John to come round sometime.
I think, yeah. I think he might. I don't know. Depends how he's feeling, you see. He does things when he wants.
Now try and work through this using a problem-solving approach. How can you help Gillian to decide what to do about her boyfriend? The final section in this videotape is on crisis prevention. The aim is to devise a plan of action if a future crisis occurs, especially to prevent suicide in the context of recurring crisis situations. It's less applicable if a recent crisis occurred in a highly unusual set of circumstances which have now been resolved. We must stress that crisis prevention should be collaborative, and it should only occur once the immediate crisis has actually been diffused. All frontline workers have a role to play in suicide prevention, and there are really long-term benefits to be gained from trying to do some crisis prevention. We're going to look at the following stages. Explore the exact circumstances which led up to the current crisis. What was the situation? What were the symptoms that the person experienced? What was their behaviour? Then go on and assess the likelihood that the exact circumstances will be repeated in the short or medium term. Have the problems been resolved? Then go on to help the person to recognise their own personal early warning signs of a crisis. What symptoms do they experience in their body? What thoughts go through their head? And then help them to devise alternative coping strategies once they've recognised the crisis. Now let's go back to the interview with Barry and the teacher. The school inspection isn't going to happen for some time, again, but the likelihood of her rowing with her husband is fairly high. Barry moves on to assessing early warning signs and then looks at alternative coping strategies.
How often are those really bad rows?
I've had 2 really bad ones.
And did you know they were going to happen?
I thought they were going to happen on both times they did.
Why?
could feel myself getting upset.
Okay.
And I think that's what he starts getting really... That's what makes him angry. It gets worse. And I get more upset. And then he just walks out.
Right. Which leaves
I'm
you...
on my own.
Yeah.
And that's when I feel desperate.
I think recognising that is important, because those are the times that are most dangerous for you. Those are the rows that you know are going to happen, that leave you feeling so bad afterwards. And so far, Janet's been there. What if she wasn't? What do you think would happen then?
It actually crossed my mind when I last phoned her that she wouldn't be in or something. I don't know.
Have you thought about what you could do then?
No. She was so. I didn't have to.
No. If she's not, perhaps you would need to be able to phone someone else. And if you've not shared it within the family otherwise, then the Samaritans. And they are there just to contact, just to talk, just to let off steam when you're feeling so pent up. And having their number handy can help. Can phone the duty doctor. It won't always be me, but you've still got someone there that you could phone.
Don goes through some similar steps in his session with Gillian and looks at how she'll cope if the problems with her boyfriend lead to her feeling once more at risk of harming herself.
Right, Gillian. I guess we better talk about what might happen and how you might feel if he did turn up.
I don't like thinking about it, really. It'd depend on what he did, wouldn't it?
Well, if the worst came to the worst and he did turn up on your doorstep, and he got quite nasty with you, how do you think he would react to that?
I always try and calm him down. I just sort of agreeing with him and I don't know what... I mean, I tried arguing with him once and it was worse. You know, he got a bit... He started chucking stuff around and he hurt my wrist. And did some stuff.
So, are you saying you would have to go along with whatever he wanted? You'd have to try and calm him down.
I don't know what else to do because he's... It just depends what... I mean, if he was, you know, if he needed some smack and...
But what would happen to you, Julian? I mean, how would you feel inside if he came round and he behaved like that?
It would just go on and on like that, wouldn't it then? And there wouldn't be much point anymore, would there really, if he was gonna, he'd just start taking my stuff. Oh God. I mean, he did that to, he took his last girlfriend's stuff and he made it sound so.
You say there wouldn't be much point anymore. What do you mean by that?
Well, if I try and get myself out of this mess and stuff, what's going to be the point if he keeps coming around? And I think I'd be really, I think I'd be worried about myself. I think I'd go down again, I think.
So you'd start to feel, well, pretty hopeless again, the way that you were a week or two ago.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I feel much better when he's not around. These last couple of days I felt a bit better because he's not been around, but then I've been worried that he's going to come round and start acting up again.
Okay. So if John came round to the flat, if he behaved the way that you think he is going to behave, then you reckon you'd be at risk again? You might start to feel suicidal again and so on?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh God, I hope he doesn't. I hope he doesn't.
So there's always the possibility that he might, though, Julian. We ought to talk about how you're going to deal with that situation if it came along. And if he came around, well, you'd feel pretty terrible about it. You might be at risk again. You might consider killing yourself again, even.
Yeah.
So I guess we ought to think about how you're going to handle that situation again. You've handled things very well over the last week. I think you've done amazingly. I don't think either of us wants you to slip back again. So let's think about practical things you can do. If John came around, practical things that you can do to put yourself less at risk. Maybe you can't prevent him coming around. Maybe you're not physically, maybe you can't prevent that. But how are you going to deal with the situation?
A little further on, they start to look for potential early warning signs that Gillian is at risk of self-harm, signs of emotional distress. From this, it would be possible to move on to ways of attempting to prevent crisis, getting support, looking for alternatives to risking behaviour, controlling her arousal.
I don't know what to do. I'd feel really
How do you know when you're at risk? How do you know when you're going down again?
Because I feel depressed. And start thinking about it and not being able to think about anything else, really.
So you start having these thoughts about killing yourself again, yeah. And do you do anything? In the way before you were buying packets of razor blades?
Sometimes I sort of I thump the wall sometimes.
Yeah. So you feel really tense, yeah?
Yeah. I like kick stuff around a bit.
So you get wound up and really anxious, yeah?
Yeah.
I guess maybe, Gillian, there are some things that you can do something about and other things that you can't. And maybe
what can I do about it, though? I mean...
Well... Maybe you can't prevent John coming round, but maybe you can do something about the consequences of that. Maybe you can do something about the way that he makes you feel.
This videotape has covered assessment, crisis management, problem solving and crisis prevention. Every case requires assessment and crisis management. Some cases also require problem solving and/or crisis prevention. You need an opportunity to practice these skills now. What we'd like to emphasise finally is that you can't really learn how to do this by simply watching a videotape.